On this exciting episode, we're going to play a game of Stop the Diesel Leaks. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're finally going to address this diesel leak that's been going on for about the last, since I got the tractor. It's made quite a mess under here. I just put down some floor dry, so I'm not walking through it. But as far as I can tell, we got three issues. One, the pepcock is leaking. It's definitely dripping off the bottom here. A new one is about $250. Blew my mind. So we're going to pull it apart and try to fix the seals. If not, it's getting a ball valve put on there. The other one is the drain, the water drain at the bottom of the tank. I'm not sure if it's leaking from the actual spigot at the bottom or it's actually coming from the top here. Hard to tell from right here, but it might actually be cracked where it's soldered to the bottom of the tank. Either way, we have to pull the tank off. So removing the engine cowl, take the battery out. I'm not quite sure how it's hooked to the dash, but I think the dash is actually overset on the tank itself. So we'll have to pull that back. Explore the unknown as usual. But I'm sure we can get her done. So let's get at her. So the tank is out. And it's much bigger than it seemed in the tractor. I don't know what this is. This got to be, 20 gallons. Which is a big tank. And it does have a fuel gauge on it. I can hear it rolling around in there, but the little wire was broken off. Still a chance that might work. But, what a mess in here. This is the wiring that's on this dash. I think it's one of those projects where you just start over. You don't try to fix this. You don't try to fix any of that. It is a mess. Probably about 60 years of people splicing and cutting. I'm sure the ignition's not the original. Same thing with most of the gauges, except for the center cluster because it is a sealed unit, I think. And then you can see the connections here for the mechanical RPM on here. And also, I think it's the ground speed or PTO speed. So those, I think they're standard cables with the square ends, just like the old bicycles used to have. So they'll probably be able to repair that. But the wiring's staying as is for now. We're just going to concentrate. We're going to flip that tank over, clean it up, and see where the crack is around that spout that's soldered on. Now that I got this tank turned over, I can see this doesn't look like a factory solder job to me. It looks like someone did try to redo this. I'm pretty sure it is leaking from there anyway. I will remove the plug and drain and put a new O-ring. But I think I'm going to try to clean this up. I'm not going to resolder it. I don't want to mess with it. So I'll just use some sealant. Probably put all the way around that to make sure it's sealed good. And the same with the spigot. We'll pull the spigot out and we'll fix that as well. Now these inserts that are welded into the bottom of the tank, they don't seem to be leaking, but I think I'm going to seal around them anyway. And once I put the bolts on, I'll probably put a light sealant, maybe a little bit of silicone on the bolts so that RTV, so when it goes in the hole, it seals the hole just in case it is leaking through there a bit. So I tried to turn that drain and it ended up breaking right off of my fingers. This is like a little bell valve, almost like a engine valve on the inside here, that when you turn that open, push this out and you drain out the dirty fuel or the water that's in the bottom of the tank, which catches in this. But she's plug solid. There's a lot more than just crappy water and dirt in there. It looks like mud. So once we get this sealed up good, we're going to have to put some cleaner in there, swish this tank around and try to get all that out. So, but once I cleaned up the solder job, it actually looks pretty good. I think the issue is lying in whatever they did here. This is just nasty. So I'm going to use some brake cleaner on that and try to get some better sealant on there and see if that'll help. A little bit of good news here. While I was pulling this drain apart, I found the leak right here. I cleaned this all off and everything's fine. I don't know if you can see it. It is leaking right out of the edge of that seam. So I'm going to seal the whole thing, but it's good to know that I got somewhere to start. So once a guy starts getting in here and taking this apart, the seal is like a piece of rope. It's actually quite long. It's wrapped around twice, but just like rope with some kind of, I don't know what's in it, graphite maybe? It's shiny, it's slick, but not really oily. So I think it's some kind of graphite rope. And it just kind of wrapped in there. And then this little, I don't know if you can tell about this. This is a little dishwasher is on top of it. And I assume just like a compression seal, when you tighten this nut down, it squishes that rope out wider, the seal around the stem and then inside the nut itself. Now in the breakdown, it does not show a breakdown of this valve. So I think I'm going to look for just an O-ring that might fit in there and work and give that a try. Now this is what's inside the tank. This is your, I don't know, not a dipper tube, kind of the opposite. Just makes it so you don't suck that last 1.5 inches off the bottom of the tank, so all the crap ends up going inside this bowl and you're pulling off the fresh fuel, so any water that's in there, you're not picking it up, or the dirt. So like if you think, you know, you slosh the tank around, you look inside, you may say, oh yeah, I got fuel to keep going. No, you don't. 2 inches of the bottom of your tank never gets used, and that's where hopefully all the dirt and the water stays, so it fills in this bowl and then you can drain it once that's working properly. So, but I'm gonna look for an O-ring, see if I can find something that'll match that. So I found this little O-ring. It fits nice in the cup of that washer that sits in there, so I'm going to put it in, tighten it up, and put a little brake clean in the spout there and see what happens. See if it keeps it nice and dry and sealed up. Maybe be an easy fix. Okay, I got the brake clean in. And again, if you guys remember when I did the valves, the reason why you use brake clean or cleaners like that is that they're so thin that they will leak out the smallest hole or the smallest gap. So we're just going to dry this off. See, we got nothing coming out to return, and also nothing coming out the bottom of the stem, so we know we're not drawing any water or anything that might be in the bottom of the tank. And as of right now, there's no leak on this. So I want to plug the return so it doesn't leak out there. And we're going to slowly open this valve and see if it leaks out around it. There, we are fully open. Should drain out the other side. It does. Still got some in there. Put a little more in just to make sure. Clean this off one more time. Let's see. No. Oops. I think that's just from me pouring it out the other side. Let's get it cleaned off here just to make sure. That's her. No more leak. Well, that was easy. I hope hope the other leak can be this easy too. Nothing at all. Perfect. This is what's in the bottom of this tank. So as clean as that fuel come out of there. This is probably just about full. The bottom of the tank probably has a layer on it. And that's why you have that little spout on the bottom of your pepcock. I'll clean a little bit out of here. I'm going to put the valve back in, but it'll come back out later on. And this tank is going to get a good cleaning. Same thing down in there, which actually, the chunk of whatever was in there fell down. So there's got to be a lot in there. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crappy. But we're making progress. That's all that counts. So I used some brake clean to clean that up. Then I roughed it up with a little piece of sandpaper. And even though there was just that little, around that little edge, and I saw two little holes, it seemed like, in there. But this side of the seam didn't seem very good, so I just put that sealant all the way around. This is the same JB Weld stuff I used on the axle. They call it a quick weld. It doesn't really say that it's for fuel tanks and oil related products, but I've used this on tanks before and nothing seems to affect it. Oil doesn't make it soft, doesn't make it peel off or anything, so keep using her until I have an issue with it. But this stuff is good, dries quick, and when it's done you can sand it so you can paint it, and it works really well. So we're going to leave this now. It's later in the morning on a Saturday, which that means it's almost 8 o'clock for me. Got here about 5 this morning to work on this. So I'm going to leave this sit for the day. Go on a little road trip with the wife. And we'll be back tomorrow morning to see how that's set up. And actually we're going to stop at a Napa store, I think, to see if I can find one of those little, I don't know what you call it, little drain valves, little P valve. See if I can find one of those. So we will see you in the morning. Well, it is the next day. This stuff is hard as a rock. Dried up good. And also, went to local Napa. Got a new one of these drain valves here. So, what we're going to do today now, we're going to take the fuel gauge out, get the pressure washer. I'm going to pressure wash this tank on the outside, and then we're going to crank on the steam. We're going to try to steam it out. Try to get all that crap out of there. And once that's done, I'll throw some Varsol in there, swashed around, dump it out, and then I'll use diesel to swash around there and dump that out and get all the water out of there. But I'm happy with that, how that dried. We've got all the parts we need. Our pepcock is all sealed up as well, so we're looking good. Let's clean this tank now. So we got the tank clean anyway. Pressure washed inside and out. For the most part dry. I'm still gonna wash some or rinse some diesel through her there just to make sure everything's good. Not too bad in there. Say if we can get like a real good view. We're now inside the tank. It actually looks pretty darn good to me. So now I'll just splash a little diesel through it and call her done. So I got the tank swished out. Just letting the last little bit of diesel dribble out of there. Didn't have any leaks in that valve, which is good. So we're just going to put this tank back together. But I have a question for you case guys out there. What is this for? This is inside the tank. It fits right in the fill spout. And that big locker ring goes in there. I can't see any purpose for this. Like, look at that nice big hole to pour fuel in. Nah, too big. Let's just knock that down to almost nothing. So a guy has to try to get a nozzle down the small hole after, reaching 6 feet in the air to try to fill it. Just curious what that might be. If anyone knows, drop a comment. But it came out, so it's going back in. Put the lid on. Throw the fuel sensor back in and seal it up. Then we'll throw this tank back up on the tractor. There we go. Tank is back on. No leaks. Mission accomplished. That's everything I wanted to get done this weekend. Hopefully the floor will dry up. Threw a little more floor dry down there. Clean it up so Buddy doesn't get upset about the stains on the floor anymore. Not that he complains about it, but I do like to keep it clean as I can. So anyway, that's it. Again, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next week.